No problem.
I just heard my
Well, hello and welcome back to Millionaire Brand Creation. I am super excited to have a friend of mine on someone I was on his podcast a couple weeks ago. That was an amazing podcast. He's an amazing orator, communicator, leader. And the reason I wanted to bring Ryan Madrid on, Ryan is the Chief Development Officer and founder of Bison Ventures, which is an arm of VIP Mortgage. He's been in the mortgage industry since 2013, I believe. His dad was in the pharmacy industry, and I think that's where you were studying too, Ryan, in northern Arizona, right? Is that what you studied? But I'm super excited to bring you on because what'd you study up there?
I actually studied finance, but when I got out of college in 2000, so I got out in '97. I went to work for Solomon Smith Barney, and realized that business wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be, especially after 9/11. And my dad was at Abbott Laboratories, and I was like, I'm never going to go into that business because of nepotism. And then I realized nepotism is great. I'm going to go work for pharmacists in the pharmaceutical business. So I did that. Yeah. So I did that for a while. And then I went into medical devices. Yeah. And I didn't come into this business until 2013. I was just looking to get out of that corporate America grind and kind of do my own thing. And I knew a bunch of people in this business and the people that owned VIP Mortgage. So yeah, but the VIP Mortgage side of things has really let us do what we wanted to do, and that was create our own brand. And so yeah, we started a joint venture, so to speak, with VIP, which is Bison Ventures.
The reason I wanted to bring you on today, and the reason I was so excited to talk to you, is twofold. Was number one, you're a very charismatic guy. You have the into a lot of people and befriending them in a genuine, authentic way. And I think that really resonates well with sales. A lot of our listeners who watch this, even after being live, are in the real estate industry, or they're salespeople or entrepreneurs themselves. And then secondly, you have a bird's eye view of what's actually going on in the financial markets, at the spreads of mortgages, et cetera. I wanted to get kind of your take on what's going on and where we have to go from here. So if you could, tell us a little bit about your childhood and growing up in Arizona, because I know your dad was a big fixture here as well.
Yeah, it's actually, it started pretty much with my grandfather. He came from Mexico, and him and his brother had the Madrid pharmacy in downtown Phoenix. So I think it was like 3rd and Adams. And my dad went to St. Mary's High School. My mom went to Phoenix Union, and they met when they were in high school and got married, went to ASU, and they decided to move out to Peoria in '73 when there was really nothing in Peoria or Scottsdale at that time. So they moved out to 71st Avenue in Corrine, which is right between Cactus and Thunderbird. And they brought acreage out there, and we had a really cool annexed area with 4 streets, and you kind of grew up with and played sports and did everything with the people that lived in your neighborhood. But just so happened that a lot of those people in the neighborhood were huge fixtures in the community, like the Moises, the Knights, and with Knight Transportation and Swift Transportation, and just some other big name companies. And I think my dad was the only corporate America guy living in that world, and he was with Baxter Travenol, which eventually became Abbott Laboratories. So he had been with the same company since the '60s. So everybody all my dad's brothers and one sister all went into pharmaceuticals out of college, because I think that they had that connection through the pharmacy. My aunt actually, she became an attorney and a judge, went to Georgetown, and she was the Fiesta Bowl queen. And so my family has been here for a long time, doing great things, and I think I was the only one that really went off and did something as an entrepreneur style. And dad, he passed away about 15 years ago, and while he was passing, he basically said to me that he's like, you're living the life exactly like I did. You're doing everything that I did. And I had so many regrets of not taking the chance of doing something different. And my brother and I talk about this. All
Mm.
this is what he said. He goes, my brother and I talk about all this all the time. He's just like, Ryan and his friends, you guys are out there, you're partying, you're going out and having all this fun, and you know, we just did this like cookie cutter life thinking that we did. We had a great life. I had a great childhood. My parents were amazing. But he's like, dude, you can always go get a job back in corporate America. You should go try something on your own and go interview your friends that are happy in what they're doing, that have businesses, and just go figure it
Mm.
out. And don't have them interview them, and have them basically say like, dude, you have the opportunity for me to come work with you, not for you, but I'm going to decide what I want to do. This story is actually one of my favorite stories to tell. Why I ended up at VIP Mortgage is, tell me if I'm going like off here, but this is something, I think this is a really cool story, so I'm gonna tell it
Yeah,
anyways.
go for it.
So I had met with a couple of my college roommates who had very successful in town, and I was thinking I was going to go between one of the two, and it was one was tech, and the other was in the recruiting business, and the last place I stopped was here, and Jay Barber, who's the principal owner of VIP Mortgage, and Keith Teagarden, who is his partner, I had met them in a fantasy football league, and like when we were like 23, and I hadn't seen, it's like we'd see each other every so often and stuff, and I had been in a really bad accident, a motorcycle accident, and my mom had died, my dad had died, and like within like 3 year period, all this was happening. I was going to go through a divorce, and like I was just kind of in shambles, to be honest with you, just not sure what I wanted to do in my life. And I came here, we sat in a boardroom. It's actually a different office, but and Jay had been dealing with something with his mom at that time, and we sat in there for a couple hours, and we just talked about life. We didn't talk about business at all. And
Yeah.
he had a meeting, and so he immediately abruptly had to leave, and I walked out, and I had called my uncle because my uncle was kind of like my mentor at that time after my dad passed. And I was like, he's like, how'd it go? And I was like, I think I'm gonna go work with my friend so and so. And he's like, well, what happened there? And I was like, dude, we didn't even talk about business at all. Like, and I don't even know really if there's even an opportunity here. And he goes, you need to go work there. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's even an
Mm.
opportunity. I go, why? He goes, because dude, you need people in your life right now that care about you more than they care about what you can bring to the table from a business standpoint. And if he didn't even ask you about that
Mm.
stuff, and that means like this is a caring person, these are caring people. And later that day, I got a call from Jay, and he's like, I've actually cried when I've told this story with numerous times. So, but he literally said to me, he's like, sorry, man, I know that like I had to leave, and but I would love for you to come work for us. And I was like, well, what would I do? And he goes, I don't know. What do you want to do? I was like, well, what do you do? What do you do? Like I was that ignorant about it. I just knew that I felt like I could go call on a neurosurgeon that's scrubbing in to go save somebody's life, like in hospitals, as that's where I lived basically. I could I can surely go call on realtors and like go get business. And so he's like, I don't know, you want to be the CEO? And I was like, no, I don't want to be the CEO. I don't know, in a joking fashion. But he's like, nobody was coming from my world, that medical world, into the mortgage business. It just didn't happen. You see more of it now, maybe, and more people leaving corporate America going into any sort of the real estate space. But so we just and we just talked a lot about, like, the financial side of this stuff, and there was a lot of obstacles because I had a nut. I was going through divorce, and I have children, and I have things to pay for, and this is a commission based business, and he just basically said, like, what is it going to take financially to make this work for you? And I told him, and he's like, cool, let's do it. I know it's gonna pay off in the long run, and it did. It did, obviously, very well, but it took longer than I thought, and realtors or agents, and I thought they'd be easier than surgeons, but sometimes they're more difficult. It's like sometimes there could be more of ego. So, but that's what kind of led me here to VIP, and I should say to Bison Ventures now, because even though we are like part of this company, we have our own money into this company. So we have our own warehouse lines. We have skin in the game. We're the only company within VIP that has this set up. So we are partners with Jay and Keith, I like to say, but powered by VIP, and yeah, so that's where we're at. And I know this question comes up all the time, so I'm just going to answer it for you. So Bison Ventures, why did we call it Bison Ventures? And so I saw this today actually on Instagram, which was cool. Somebody else was kind of explaining the bison or the buffalo, and it's the only animal that runs into the storm. And we look at this business, in the mortgage business, in the real estate business, whatever. I mean, it's chaos. How do we manage chaos, right? Every day is just something different, and I don't think people understand how difficult the loan side is of this business. And so that's been just our motto forever. Like, that we're just always run into the storm. We're not afraid of anything. We're going to tackle it, and we're going to get, with the right way, right? And as you know, we have great communication, great systems and processes, and we've been, successful for a long time. So that's where it came from, and we're super proud of it. But it does get confusing for some people sometimes because they're like, "Wait, you're a mortgage
company?" I want to talk about
your
ability to interact with people, Ryan, because you have a real knack of walking into a room and a lot of people are gravitated towards you. A lot of entrepreneurs that are on here are in the commission side of the business, right? They're in sales in some form of another. What is it? What have you learned being around people, interacting with people that they can take to the bank to help transform their personal life and their business? What are some tips you can give them?
I'd say, like, one of the first things that I think that I get told that I'm really good at is listening, like, and learning about people. Like, truly, like, I like to pay attention to people and, like, what they're like, who I want to be around. And if I do like you, you're going to know it. And I think you know that, Mike, because I think, you and I have a unique relationship in that fashion. But so I pay attention to the little things, and it's not like just a genuine thing. I just make sure that I know what's going on with them. And if it's good stuff, I make sure that I let them know. If it's bad stuff, I make sure that I let them know that I'm around. And I think that, like, thoughtful gift giving is a really good thing for in the business world as well. I learned something a long time ago that, it's not about, like, tchotchke stuff, but if there's somebody that you care about or somebody you're trying to get business from, learn a little bit about them and send them a thoughtful gift. And, for example, I got something from somebody one time, and it was a knife, and everybody's like, "Oh, the Cutco knife," but it had my name on it. It said Madrid family, and it was a card that said, it was right around Thanksgiving, and it was, have something along the lines of, like, have a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully after the holidays you can carve out some time for me. And I thought, this is cool, and I didn't, like, it had nothing to do. It didn't say the guy's name or company on it and stuff like that. And what's funny is that the dude he's a friend of mine. So And it wasn't like, but it was like still, it was like really cool ordeal. But after being in the business for a couple of years, realizing there's a lot of people that I was wasting time on for whatever reason, I chose to really focus on people that I really liked, friends with, and I
Mhm.
wanted to spend my time with because my time as I get older is more
Mm,
valuable. So for me, that was
yeah.
it. It's not like just throwing a wide net. It was really just like sharp shooting people and realizing that like these are my friends. I want to be friends with you. And why wouldn't you want to do business with friends?
Yeah. So as entrepreneurs in this game now, obviously we're in a transitory period in the economy. If people are starting out or they're having difficulty in their business, what are some things that you would recommend that they do that have worked wonders for you and in your company?
Um, so that's a good question. I mean, that's super like seasonal, right? So right now getting this business would be it would be really difficult. But I also feel like it's an opportunity for some people.
Yep.
And I think that getting with the right mentor, it goes back to caring. We always say people with heart. You know, finding it goes. You can do it two ways. For me, I'm not like the cold calling guy that's gonna make just 100 calls a day, and I know that's a big thing with a lot of the coaches and stuff like that. But for me, it's very targeted, finding the right people and really focusing on your sphere and getting into every sort of networking opportunity you can possibly get into, going to every event that you can possibly get into. I mean, for me, like charitable stuff has been a huge thing for me, and it has been from the beginning. I go to as many galas as I can go to. I invest a ton of money into donating into charities that I care about. I try to get on boards that I care about. I join groups that I care about, and almost every one of those are things that affected me in my life at some point. And everybody
Mm,
has a story, right? We all have stories. So what's the story? You tell your story as much as possible, and as long as you're a good person and people like you, they're going to give you opportunities to tell you, to sit down with you and let you tell them what it is you do. And you know, that's that to me is the best way of doing it because the people that don't do it, the people that just cold call all the time, they're successful, but they never reach the level of like true success in my opinion, unless they open up their own call factory, call center or whatever.
so
That's not
creating
your deal either.
authentic relationships, creating
Yeah.
authentic relationships, and also being able to tactfully and kindly tell your story to other people. That's what you recommend.
Yes. Yep.
Like that. Now, here's something I wonder if you've ever thought about too. How do you get successful people to like you? Because I know that's one question I get a lot. Is like, I have access to a lot of people want to talk to, and they ask me, well, how can I get in those rooms? How can I talk to those types of people? What are some tricks and some tips that you learned in your, 20 plus years of business? Because you're really good at that. And I'm wondering if there's some steps that you can give people that are trying to get good at that as well.
I've never actually. Yeah, you're right. I've never been asked that. I would say that it comes down to I get this a lot today, and actually, I just interviewed Brian North recently, and he brought this up. People still don't know what I do, which is
Mm,
probably weird and wrong, but I'm just they know I'm successful. They know that like I'm genuine. They know that I'm in like the mortgage space, but I'm not an in your face type of guy. And um, I think that if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody that you think you might be able to do business with, that has to come, the business side has to come second For me, that's how it's worked for me. I'm, you know, probably a lot of people will say that that's crazy, but that's what's helped me. And I've heard multiple people tell other people that the reason why they
Mm.
work with me is because I just I didn't come at them with the whole purpose of just trying to get business. So when I go to events and I go to parties and I go to meet people, I just make friends, and I
Yep.
genuinely like making friends, and I like doing stuff with people that I like, and eventually they're like, "Hey, how do I send a deal over to you? What's the system? What's the process?" And then I just let them know how it works because at this point, right, I'm not the one doing the loans anymore, right? I help run the company. So, but for me, it just goes back to all it's just relationship building, man, and being genuine. You do the same thing.
Now, well, I know, but I want to hear it from you because you're good at it too. You're
Okay.
probably better at it than me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people ask that question to me, and I'm like, it's better for other people to articulate their skills. And one of the other questions I get asked a lot that I think people want to know about, you've had mentors in your life, whether it was your uncle, whether it was colleagues or Stewart or any of those people. What's a good piece of advice that you learned from someone that meant a great deal to you that you want to share with the audience that may help them in their business or their personal life?
I think from the business standpoint, one thing that I wasn't great at was the systems, processes, building like a routine. And like you said, Stuart's name, I think the reason why Stuart and I worked so well together because when we first started working together, I was just like the visionary guy and just horrendous at like
Mm-hmm.
implementing things. And Stuart kind of has it all a little bit, right? Um, but he got me so much better at focusing on the right things at the right time, and building a system and a process for a daily structure. Because I'm one of those people that can go
Mm.
off course pretty quick. Because like as soon as like someone says, "Hey, you want to go to dinner?" I'll be like, "Oh, let's just go to dinner. Let's go to happy hour first." And I forget like what I really got to do the next day at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm supposed to get up and do this, this, and this. Um, and then from like the personal standpoint, you know, Jay Barber says this all the time. It's like we live with our hearts, and
Mm.
I think I've been through so much stuff that people don't really know. That first impression of me, I think, for a long time was that I was a slick guy wearing suits, and that like things were just so cool and easy, and they didn't realize that I was valeting cars at night, and that I was like living alone, and that I've had massive trauma, and just a lot of things. So I'd always kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, but I just led with like just caring and with my heart. I always say we lead with our heart, and if you lead with your heart, people they're gonna resonate with you, and they're gonna want to be around you.
What are some systems that worked well for your guys' business and or real estate agents that you partner with that maybe people listening in might be able to implement in their own business or their own personal life that work well for you guys?
I think like having the proper cadence on everything you do from like start to finish. So it's from like we call our discovery call, but for the first time you have contact with that person, you show them right away how good you are at communication, but how good you are at customer service. So we always kind of assume
Mm.
that anybody that's talking to us probably talking with a couple other people. So education is huge for us. So when we get them on the phone, just let them understand that. So our tagline is with expertise without empathy is failure. So it's kind of like bedside manner,
Mm.
right? So you have to be really good and knowledgeable of what you're doing, but you have to do it with care, right? You have to let them know that
Yeah.
we understand that most people don't understand the process of everything, no matter what business you're in. If you have a client, they don't always understand what it takes to do a loan or whatever it is. So you kind of have to do it very gently and comfortably, but you have to give them so much information that they're like, holy cow. When they talk to the next person, they're gonna be like, this wasn't even close. But it
Yeah.
goes back to the touches, right? The handwritten cards. It goes back to the emails, the follow up. It's just like we have a 56-point milestone structure that we literally follow, and it's as detailed as like when you know Gabby, our client relations coordinator, gets off the phone. She has 10 minutes to send an email that has a recap of the exact conversation that was just had and the next steps of what's happening after that. Every single process that we have has something like that, and from the closing from the beginning to the end, and then months and years out. And from a partner standpoint, we just talked about this about a half an hour ago, actually, because Stuart's off to go meet with an agent that came to us that like 2 years ago, and we never stopped following up with that agent, or I'm sorry, with that client. And now the client is doing a deal. Well, the client's not doing a deal with the agent that originally referred it to us. So we had to call that
Mm.
agent and be like, "Hey, man, just let you know they're ready to go, but they're using somebody else." And his response was, "Dude, I dropped the ball. I dropped the ball. Dropped the ball." So yeah. So guess what's happening today? Stuart's teaching him our system, so that's never going to happen again. And also expanding upon that is giving us, letting him understand that we're going to do this for you. If you're working with us, we're going to be constantly making phone calls, and we're going to constantly do that. But you got to make sure that you're doing it on your end as well, because this can happen,
Yeah.
and it happens a lot.
No, I think that's really important, having the system in place and making sure that you're creating those touch points with everyone that you come in contact with. So, obviously, the shift came when the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates right back in April. What are you seeing right now in the marketplace, especially with the loan spreads and interest rates that you can touch upon?
Oh, this is the hardest part. It's like we can all pretend to be economists, and it's like amazing. Like I subscribe to multiple different services. I watch CNBC every day, and it's like I can get 4 different perspectives. Um, and like even the best one I heard today was that the Feds, they're looking to raise rates again, in November, December, or raise interest rates. And the senator out of Ohio had come out and said, you're raising rates by looking back on the past. You're not looking into the future. So you're fixing maybe what's happened with interest rates, but you're destroying industries as we're doing this right now. And it is the Fed's job to monitor inflation and fix inflation and jobs. But what's happening is there's we look back too far. We are losing jobs, even though job rates are coming out and saying everything we're not. So yeah, we've had 2 positive days in a row. I saw 7.25 interest rate today, and but what we think is going to happen and what we hope is going to happen is that we're gonna deal with this for a little while longer into the next year, and we may be looking at 6 to 12 months, and then things are going to come back, and hopefully at that point it's not like destruction of this industry. But man, it's tough right now. Like every company is like merging or getting bought or going under. I mean, we personally we get calls every week, couple a week, from mortgage companies that have been around for 25 years. They're looking like, dude, we're going to shut the doors. Can you take us? So it gets
Oh, wow.
scary in that aspect. Yeah. But the strong will survive, and we're doubling down on our accounts. And so we're just putting more people and we're creating opportunities. And luckily for us, we have some big brokerages in town that we're preferred lenders for. And we're bringing people on and allowing them to just go into those accounts and just build relationships with places that they've never been able to get into. But as you know, it's like, it's so hard to answer a question when you're trying to understand what you think the smartest people in the world are doing, and us, I don't consider myself the smartest person in the world. So I read and I watch and I learn, and I just am like holding on for dear life, going, okay, I think we're going to be okay, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So stay strong, people.
How because I think the biggest thing a lot of people have questions for. I was in Vegas. I don't know if I told you this last week with Matt, actually, who's our producer on here. And I was talking to Glenn Stearns. Glenn, started Stearns Lending before he sold it to Blackstone for like 600 million. And he was talking about Loan Depot and their losses and talking about loans, refis, et cetera. Can you explain to, real estate agents or entrepreneurs listening in, how does the loan process work? And how do you guys get your warehouse financing? And how do you make money on these transactions? Can you tell us more about that?
That's a great question. And I feel like barely anybody knows this answer. So there's different, right? So you got the broker side. It's true. I didn't know for a long time either, really, honestly, especially if you're just, if you're working for a company, like a Loan Depot and you're on the retail side, you're just getting basis points typically, right? So you're getting, let's just say 150 basis points, just throw that number out there, because it really varies per state and, and per company really, and per loan amount. So you basically make 150 basis points. Well, that's what the loan officer is making. But the loan officer is not making that from the client. They're making that from the actual bank. So we're, of course, so Loan Depot is like a bank, right? A correspondent like us and Fairway, Nova, Homeowners Financial, we're correspondents. So we don't really service loans. So when someone has to pay not origination fee, but they have to pay the fees, so like an underwriting fee, processing fee, funding fee, those are the only fees that we charge. We don't get paid as an actual company until we sell that loan off to a servicer. So when I lock a loan, say you're doing a loan with me, and we decide that Wells, we have 30 plus different investors to go off of, and I find the best investor is going to be Chase or Wells. So we'll say Chase. When we package 100 loans at a time, sell them off to Chase, and Chase pays us a certain amount of basis points, and those basis points allows us to pay for the building, the computers, the phones, our staff, our 401ks and your insurance and all that stuff. And then it goes down to the branches. The branch manager gets a certain amount. That branch manager now divvies that down to the loan officer. So yeah, we don't get paid to get a higher rate for somebody. We get the best rate we could possibly do. And we have a certain margin that we're supposed to be at, that the bank that we got the warehouse line from expects us to sell at, right? So so a lot of times you'll hear the best rate right now is 7%, right? And another person will go, well, I saw 6 and 7/8 over here. Well, that company decided to make it more skinny or not pay their people as much money. So if you go work at a Quicken, you're working at the center where they're dialing out numbers, they may make 10 basis points, but they do 100 deals a month, right? Right. So, and then the broker side, it's it's whatever they decided with UWM. They may make 200 basis points completely. So for them, it's more difficult. They get better rates. They may get better rates right now. There's no shocker. UWM's got great rates, but that company's a massive company that has figured out that this is what they want to do. They're going to set the market at this level. But most brokers, they can't really hire. I'm gonna get shit for this probably, but it's like you have a bunch of LOs working for you at 150 basis points because you may only be making 200, right? And you got to, if you want to have an office, you can't. You have no money to pay anybody else to do anything. So there's a lot of people that like both the brokers and the bankers. They go back and forth. They're both great. There's space for everybody, but that's how you get paid.
How does a lender, like yourself or an intermediary, so to speak, get warehouse lines of debt? And how much does a company, I mean, I don't know if you can answer these questions, but how much does a company like VIP have to have as far as warehouse lines to do as many deals as you guys are doing?
So I don't know the exact number on that, but I do know that for us to start Bison Ventures, we couldn't, like right now, it would be virtually impossible for anybody to go out and get a warehouse line as a brand new company. It takes a lot of money and a lot of time. So for us, the beauty of our situation was that we teamed up with a company like VIP that already had the relationships. So because of the relationships that VIP had, Jay got us in the door with those same banks. So we have a couple warehouse lines, one with merchants, and Jay got us basically in that. And we used some of the assets that VIP had as well to qualify for us to have enough opportunity to say to get, a $30 million warehouse line. But a company like VIP may have $400 million in a warehouse line with multiple different warehouse lines, but it comes with time, it comes with liquidity, how much, and then how much would you have in the bank, and then how good are you at doing loans, by the way, because you get rated and you get tested and you get audited, and then you have to get with Freddie and you have to get with Fannie and you have to get with Ginnie, and those takes forever. You have to again qualify to do that, and then also FHA is a whole process. I mean, dude, to everybody out there, honestly, this was way harder than we thought it was going to be to start a company in this business. It was a lot. And thank God that we had the VIP to basically mentor us and guide us through, because we're still, I mean, getting licensing in different states is super hard. So, but, it's all paying off. It's going to pay off. And then, we're happy that we did it.
Yeah. So banks, how it works with warehouse lines, because I think a lot of people may be listening in and like, what the hell is a warehouse line? Can you explain that a little bit about why lenders need warehouse lines and what they kind of are? What's their idea of what they're supposed to do for us?
Yeah. So in order to so basically it's like a credit card. I mean, so you have a warehouse line with say $10 million on it, and as you're doing your loans, you're funding the deals with the warehouse money, and then you're selling that off. So you're constantly, using your credit card, and then you're paying it off. Like it's just a constant cycle. So you can't leave money on a warehouse line. That's why we don't we're not in the position to actually send the bills out to people and hold lines and keep deals in house and it just because we have to constantly be opening up the lines of credit. We have to make sure that the money's flowing. So from my understanding with our situation, which is a little bit different than maybe VIP's, is we're selling ours every week. So for us, it's so we got to make sure that the files are clean, put them together, sold, we get our money back, pay off the line at that rate, whatever the rate is for them, and then we get money from the servicers. So it's like a credit card. Hopefully I said that right.
So it's almost, yeah, I mean, so on a high level, it's like having a $30 million credit card, and all you're doing is you're doing interest rate arbitrage, basically. So you're selling, let's say, 7 million or a 7% loan, and then you're paying it back at 5.5 or whatever. That's how it works, huh?
Yep, exactly. Yep, it's an arbitrage.
That's interesting. I don't think a lot of real estate agents or people actually doing this know how their loan works. They just think they magically, get the money
Yeah,
from you guys, and then that's the end
yeah.
of it.
Well, and again, it's like, we all had to put up our own money to get the warehouse lines, and then we all, you're going through your personal finance statements, and like we put up a lot of risk in our lives, and to do this, to get these lines of credit, and luckily we had obviously VIP, but we also had our own. We were all doing well enough and willing to put up our own money, and that was part of the deal, right? Jay's like, I'm not going to do this on my own. I mean, you guys want to do this, then you know give me some money, let's do
Got to
it.
put your skin
But
in the
I'm
game.
not going to do it. Yeah, because here's the thing too that people need to
So,
understand. So if you do a loan and it goes south, say you miss something, or um, the bank decides they don't want to buy it. Well, now you got a buyback. So now you might buy that back at 80 cents on the dollar. And until you can actually fix
um,
it, or we call it dent, scratch and dent, that you got to sell it, you're losing money on these deals. And sometimes if the bank doesn't buy it, say it's $1.5 million loan, well, now that's going to sit in your warehouse for a while, and there'd be a cash call, and you've got to figure that out. It's
mm,
there's so much more involved than people understand, and I've learned most of this information in the last probably 3 years. Honestly, like I was in the business forever, just like with my
mm.
blinders on, going, "Give me my commission check, give me my commission check," not knowing how much like pressure Jay was under, going like, this is like, dude, we've got 500 employees, and this is what our payroll is, and we only did this certain amount of loans, and we didn't even we may have not made any money that month, and but you still got to pay everybody out, and even though so there's so many things. I mean, gosh, there should be like a college course on this.
See, I find it fascinating because I think what most real estate agents who are listening and entrepreneurs who don't understand is how inextricably tied we are in the industry together. Your lender, your title agent, your real estate agent, we are all joint at the hip, because if one goes down, we kind of all go down. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is you guys are taking it really hard as, lenders at this point in time, because it's just really hard to make that arbitrage. What is your bread and butter in the business aside from those amazing relationships that you already have? Like, how has refinancing, changed over the last 6 months? And then how do you procure new business in an environment like this?
So we were never a refi shop, and we've always said that from the
Yeah.
beginning. And we were our business specifically was like 85% purchase, and there's been we were consecutive years. I mean, for the last 5 years, probably we've been in the top five lenders in Arizona as far as like just Stuart and I. And VIP has always been very high up there as a company, and we've always focused on that. Now, when the refi boom hit, we probably lost a lot of opportunities to make a lot of money. Um, but it did
Yeah.
flip flop for us. We went 60-40 refi, 40% purchase, and
Oh,
but
wow.
and but it was just like everybody was calling us. Like we weren't out doing,
Mm.
um, like we weren't like going like consumer driven marketing, trying to go get like we should have been mining our database probably better than we did, and we did it decent. But I know people that did it even better, right? Like I have some friends that are
Right.
brokers in town that are, I mean, they just absolutely murdered it, and they've built an amazing business for decades. And now as we flip, there's no refis, right? And it's been
Right.
like an 86% drop, I think, for what I saw. It's very, very difficult to do a refi unless you have like credit card debt, and it makes sense for you to take out some equity in your home, and but that's not really what we're looking to do right now. I think that right now some the focus is really just going tripling down on your existing partners. Um,
Hmm.
Finding new partners is obviously something that you should be doing as well, but we're we're going like heavy, heavy, heavy with the people that we already work with, and trying to do everything possible we can to help them find more business, from marketing to just like education, and then going back to the old school ways of going to open houses with them, going on over started home tours again. Like you've seen those. I mean, there are home tours popping up everywhere again. Um, but it's really like going back to like just loving on the people that have given you their love for so long, and they're struggling as well. So we
Yeah.
all kind of have to get
Yep.
together and do it together, right? And be like, all right, here's the situation. We're all gonna have to be eating ramen maybe here soon. So like let's figure out ways to really do this, right? Not that bad, but
Yeah.
and then reverse mortgages have popped up too, and we just started, like we just did an educational course on that, and that's just another opportunity for the lending side, and mostly for the lending side really, but that's all we've done. We've had a department here at VIP that have been very good at it, but we've never done it. So just trying to find different ways to to get business, man.
Well, I think what's interesting and what Glenn was kind of relaying to me is he said 2023 is going to be very difficult, for lenders unless there's a, Fed pivot and U-turn. But then it's going to be just an unbelievable floodgate of opportunity because if we do have a recession in home prices, which if we're going in the same trajectory that we already have, we're down 8%, probably go down to 15 here, who knows? There's going to be a flood of business coming your way and real estate agents' ways because we're going to be getting, stuff at 80 cents, 75 cents on the dollar. How do you prepare for something like that where you're like, yeah, it's bad now, but just wait. In 12 months, it's going to be a gold mine.
Man, so this is the tough part, right? Because when we the last five boom, we didn't even have enough bandwidth or manpower to handle all the deals we were doing, right? But
Mm,
um, now we're in a position where most people are overstaffed, right? So now you have to
hmm.
make that business decision. Do you just knuckle up and just be like, all right, man, because we know this is going to happen, and we just keep everybody
Yep.
ready. So when it happens, we're really good, and we're not. It's not, this 70-day process to get a loan done. That we've got the right people in place to do it,
Yeah.
and we're choosing to be more along the lines of that way. Cut costs in different ways, but try to keep the people on, um, with us so we're prepared. And also, it, we have such a tight culture here in this small company that a lot of family and a lot of close friends and stuff that you know we've all kind of decided that we're going to take cuts to keep our system set and ready to go for when things like this happen. But also, we've created two new relationships in the last 2 months with other real estate companies that
Hmm.
that we've done MSAs with or whatever, which people right now are pulling those away. So we've decided to say,
Interesting.
let's put our money
Go
towards
the other
this.
way.
So we're ready. We're your partner. We're in place. We're supporting you right now. So when this turns, we're working together, and we're the lender on all these deals that all these brokerages and all these agents have. So that's where our heart's at right now. We're doubling down.
Yeah.
Other people
No,
think
it's
it's
funny
but
because all the smart business people I've been talking to and said instead of being reactionary, you got to be proactive. And you got to look at this time as opportune time to do your homework and get ready to rock and roll. Because it's interesting, we've had a lot of great guests on here, including yourself. Adam Levin, who is the co-founder of Credit.com, was on here. And a lot of people, agents especially, watch this because they want to get educated on what the hell is going on in the markets right now. How do they explode their businesses? And I think the biggest thing is when you look, a month out, 6 months out, maybe even a year out, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? What Adam said, which is very interesting, is he says, people can make money when markets are going up. They can make money when markets are going down. Very difficult to make money when there's the unknown of uncertainty, right? We're all in that space at the moment. However, we know one thing: if you pull back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, the first thing that's going to turn are going to be the equity markets in stocks, right? That's going to be a huge, huge explosion once the Fed U-turns that I don't think people understand. Like, if you have money, they should be putting money into the S&P 500 and into the NASDAQ as the markets continue to decline. Because if you look at the 5 to 10 year period, it's going to explode. The second thing is housing. Most people that I talk to and those listening in, they're like, oh God, I can't sell my house. Oh shit. Oh Jesus. Oh, interest rates are so high. I'm like, shit, I'm a buyer. I mean, I'm looking at opportunities right now. Instead of me building my, homage to myself, my $2 million house, put that on hold and take all that money and start buying at conventional deals. I mean, even if you're spending 7%, as a primary, right? You got to put 5 or 10% down. You're getting 20% off where we were even 6 months ago. And you have absolutely no competition whatsoever. You can go in and make these screaming deals in the next 5 to 6 months. And it's a gold mine of opportunity that you see once in a decade. How do you respond to something like that?
I agree with you. I'm doing the same thing. I have a house I'm building right now.
Yeah.
And it's like our dream house.
Yeah.
And guess what? We're not going to move into it. We're going to sell it. We're going to sell that thing, and we're going to take all the equity out of that thing, and we're going to be ready to from a personal standpoint, I'm going to be ready to buy as many as possible. And I tell everybody I know the same thing. It's like, put your money on the sidelines right now, and there's going to be incredible opportunities. And you have to think, it's so hard for people to think long term, and I've been one of those people for a very long time as well. I like to have fun and go do stuff, and I'm about to have kids in college at one time, and things cost money, but building for your I love like the creative financing sort of thing. It's just like being prepared and thinking long term is so much smarter than, like, smartest people in the world that I hear from investing standpoint. It's like if they say, what's one thing that you don't care about now that you did 10 years ago, every one of them says materialistic things. They just like, I want generational wealth.
Interesting.
That's what I want. I want an opportunity for everybody to build a business and build a business with your kids. This is an opportunity that these are all things that I've heard from other people say. I'm just regurgitating, but just resonates with me. It's like you might have an opportunity to create businesses and turn your children into entrepreneurs in the next 2 to 5 years with the money that's going to be, or the opportunity is going to be available in the housing market. I mean, it's not going to be like it was at one point where it was like nuts. Houses were going for 30 grand, but take your money and buy as many houses as you can, and 7% isn't that bad, but you're going to be able to refi at 4 or 5, and have it forever.
Where can they follow you, Ryan? Because I know people that'll be watching this after the fact. You have a great podcast, Into the Storm. What's the best way that they can contact you or possibly use you for business? Where should they look for you?
So my podcast is Into the Storm. It was formerly Real Talk with Ryan Madrid, so don't get weirded out when you only see those 9 episodes, because we really have like 59. into the storm. And then bisonventures.com, bisonventures.com. And then I'm on all the social media platforms. It's just Ryan Madrid. So Instagram, Facebook. I'm most active on Instagram, but yeah, that's it.
And if you could leave us, with a quote or something that resonates with you, from what you talked about today, or maybe some takeaway that, the listeners can have, what would you leave us with?
Go read the book, The Go-Giver, if you haven't read the book, The Go-Giver, because that's a huge philosophy of mine, and do more for others than you want people to do for you, and in turn, reciprocity will happen. But my focus is always to be the giver, not the taker.
I love that. I love that. Well, hey man, thanks so much for your time. This is really, I learned a lot. Hopefully you got something out of it. And I hope people watching contact Ryan and learn some, because his podcast is great. And if you really want to know the intricacies of mortgages, I think we did a good job, or you did a good job laying that out in today's episode. So thanks for doing that.
Absolutely, dude. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, man. And as you know, I think you're one of my faves. So. Such a good guy, everybody.
Thanks,
Michael Banovac's a good guy. That's what I have to say.
Thanks. I appreciate you. All right, man. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
See you guys.
Bye.